This video is about important points to consider before ordering CHOMPI on Kickstarter. I aim to provide an objective look into CHOMPI without trying to convince you whether to buy it or not. Let's just go over some information, some frequently asked questions, and dive into it. So let's start off with some initial information. The Kickstarter campaign for CHOMPI will begin on March 28th, and the pre-order will cost $4.99 USD. This does not include shipping or import tax depending on your country. From June to October of 2023, the CHOMPI assembly will begin and they will start shipping orders by November 2023, assuming that there are no hiccups on the way. Then the retail sales of CHOMPI will be available for $5.99 USD. Now let's talk about the price. Is the Kickstarter pre-order price of $4.99 too expensive for what this unit can provide? Let's break things down so we can get a better understanding. The CHOMPI Sampler is based off of Daisy Seed, which is a microcontroller focused on music devices, which retails for $27.95. We also have to consider that CHOMPI has an SD card reader, a MIDI in and out, USB-C, a line in and headphone out, plus the keys and knobs, so there's a decent amount of stuff to manage on the custom circuit board that will attach to the Daisy Seed. Nevertheless, when you combine all these elements together, plus research and development and the fact that CHOMPI is made by a really small team, I think that the price of $4.99 for the pre-order is justified. The CHOMPI team has responded with the following statement when regarding the price. With regards to pricing, the Kickstarter pre-order price will be $4.99 USD. We understand this may be out of reach for some people, but to be completely transparent with you all, if we could offer CHOMPI for a lower price, while still retaining its high quality hardware and ethical business practices, we would. So that is the official statement from the devs. The CHOMPI is also built in the USA, so that is something to consider as well. When it comes to the features of the CHOMPI, you also have to consider that it is open source. Kind of. There is the potential to have new firmware loaded onto the CHOMPI that can be changed and can open up a world of possibilities. However, we don't really know what these possibilities are yet. The CHOMPI devs said that it would be partially open source. So basically we don't know how open source the CHOMPI will really be, so stay tuned and I'll keep you posted on that. So let's talk about some frequently asked questions. Some people were wondering if the CHOMPI is stereo and if it can manage stereo samples, and the answer is yes, CHOMPI is stereo in both input and output, with the samples being stereo as well. Are the devs deleting comments on their YouTube videos? This I cannot answer with utmost certainty, but what I do know is that when their first video came out, it reached to about 200,000 views and had 0 comments on it, which is very odd, but I have a few theories about this. It could be that the video that's shown on their YouTube channel is embedded in external sites that will yield a high view count without the amount of comments that would be normal for a video with that many views. I've seen this happen before, this is pretty common. Also, they might have filtered the comments using YouTube tools which are on by default, and these can be very broken, so it could be on YouTube's part. Another thing is that they could be manually deleting comments by hand. I'm not exactly sure what has happened, and I think everything's up for speculation at this point. It could be some sort of YouTube glitch or something else. How many voices does CHOMPI have? It has 7 voice polyphony according to CHOMPI's site. How long can the CHOMPI sample? On the site it says that CHOMPI has 6+ hours of dynamic sampling time. I'm not sure if this changes depending on the size of the memory card that you could put into the CHOMPI, or will it come with a memory card that will be preloaded with firmware? All these are yet to be determined. Alright, let's talk about the 14 preset slots. These can be used to store different instruments or presets, and from what I've seen, they probably have other functionality as well, but again, we're still waiting on more information about it. Let's briefly talk about the tape looper, which means that when you're recording a track, sounds are layered on top of each other similar to a tape. There is no clear indication if there's different tracks or an undo button, so this is, again, I'm still waiting for answers on these questions. I also want to mention on their website, it says that 5% of proceeds from CHOMPI will go to fund education projects and donations of instruments to disadvantaged communities. So now let's briefly talk about some alternatives to CHOMPI. On the cheaper end, we have the PO33KO, which is a sampler sequencer you probably already heard of, and that goes for 99 USD. Of course, we have the OP1 and the OP1 Field that go for $13.99 for the base OP1 and $1,999 USD for the OP1 Field. We also have the Machine MK3 by Native Instrument that goes for $5.99 USD. The black box is a pretty powerful sampler that I own, and that goes for $649 USD. There's also the Akai MPC Live 2 that goes for $12.99. I also have to mention the Roland SP404 MK2 that goes for $559.99. There's also the Simpltrek, I think that's Simpltrek, sorry, by Sonicware for $3.99, and this was also a Kickstarter project as well that was successfully funded, and people seem to be enjoying this unit. We also have the organelle, which comes in two sizes, so it's $4.95 for the small one and $5.95 for the medium, and this unit is also open source. Talking about open source, there is something that is very powerful, and it's called Norns. At this moment, Norns is really hard to get due to the secondhand market, the chip shortage, and there's also a DIY version, so the price varies greatly and the availability varies as well. But it typically ranges from $600 to $800, but it can go for much more, and if you DIY, source all the parts yourself, it can go for much less, so this is a really hard product to put into a price category, unfortunately. There are definitely more samplers or sampling type devices that I could add to this list. I just wanted to give you some alternatives to research before getting CHOMPI. Maybe one of these devices might work for you better, and it's something that you can get much sooner than the CHOMPI, so it's worth looking into. Now, this is a burning question. Are the CHOMPI devs trustworthy? I dug into the background of the CHOMPI team, and they are the same people behind Technologic, which was a community synthesizer program in the Pacific Northwest. Looking into them, actually, they've been working on CHOMPI for a few years now, and there's an interesting video by Technologic that talks about their background in synths, how they got into the synth world, and they also mention how they've been working on CHOMPI for a while, so I would look into that video if you're still unsure about the people behind CHOMPI. From my research, the people behind CHOMPI are trustworthy. In conclusion, what do I think of CHOMPI overall, and is it overhyped? I think objectively, yes, CHOMPI is overhyped, especially when you have non-musicians commenting on how badly they want the CHOMPI and how this video is showing up on tons and tons of people's feed. But this also ties into the fact that people clearly want something that CHOMPI is providing. It's a mixture between the workflow, the polyphony, the sampling capabilities, the effects unit, the speed and time stretching manipulation, the partially open source nature. It clearly adds up to something that people are interested in. I also do think people are super stoked about the aesthetics of the CHOMPI as well. Wow. This was a long video, and if you made it to the end, I hope I gave you some important information about CHOMPI and whether it's something you should pre-order or not, and I really thank you for watching and taking the time to spend it with me to talk about CHOMPI. Chomp, 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 chomp. Alright, peace out.